I'm not sure the man took his oath seriously to preserve, protect. In the past there were Republicans that I never questioned that their sincerity.
Well, Donald Trump has launched an attack on Tom Hanks, slamming the Hollywood star for being, quote, woke and destructive.
For more, we are joined by former White House advisor and Tom Hanks fan, Tony Shaffer in.
Our president is very busy prosecuting his enemies. His goon squad today indicted his own former national security advisor, John Bolton. He is just brazenly lying about the economy and grocery prices, but he did have a chat with Vlad Putin today, which we know because while he was on the phone with Putin, he posted, "I am speaking to President Putin now."
On this vote, the yeas are 230, the nays are 196. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
And with that, everywhere you looked yesterday, Republicans were revolting against a truly revolting individual, Donald Trump. What you saw right there were MAGA Republicans joining forces with Democrats on the House floor to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies. 17 Republicans joined with Democrats to vote in favor of extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies.
How America's dad exposed Trump's insecurity and triggered a vindictive authoritarian response. Tom Hanks, two-time Oscar winner, beloved actor known as America's Dad, tireless veterans advocate who produced Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and Masters of the Air, just humiliated Donald Trump in the most devastating way possible. And Trump's response? A full-blown authoritarian meltdown that exposed exactly who he is. A petty tyrant who weaponizes government institutions to punish anyone who dares criticize him.
Republicans that I never questioned that their sincerity or their belief in the American system. And I think with the administration the way it's been, I think I'm not sure the man took his oath seriously to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution.
But it wasn't just Republicans joining forces yesterday with Democrats to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which you saw there on the House floor with everybody cheering, but there's a list of other things as well. So yesterday, by unanimous consent, the United States Senate agreed to put up the January 6th plaque honoring law enforcement at the Capitol building during the January 6th insurrection. Republican Senator Tom Tillis, who is not running for re-election, worked on a bipartisan basis with Democrats as well. And good for Tillis for doing this. Obviously, the Democrats were the ones pushing for this January 6th plaque to be up.
Let's break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and how this pattern reveals the danger Trump poses to American democracy. The West Point Award cancellation. In June 2025, the West Point Association of Graduates announced that Tom Hanks would receive the prestigious Sylvanus Thayer Award. This award recognizes an outstanding citizen of the United States whose service and accomplishments in the national interest exemplify personal devotion to the ideals expressed in West Point's motto, duty, honor, country. Board Chairman Robert McDonald explained why Hanks deserved the honor.
I just want to know what it feels like to be here on the 80th. It may be the last of these reunions.
If you do the math, if you were 17 years old and you were making your first trip into combat on June 6th of 1944, you would do the math, you're now 97 years old. That they're here, the first thing I say to any of the veterans that I happen to meet is don't get up, because, they're more or less wheelchair bound. But there they are, resplendent in their patches and their hats and their caps and the memories. And I ponder what these last 80 years have been for them. I want to ask them, what's the most extraordinary thing you've witnessed?
Yep.
The MAGAs were blocking it. MAGA Mike Johnson in the House was blocking it. You had the DOJ filing documents in court saying that a law that was passed in 2023 to officially put up this January 6th memorial plaque was unlawful, and MAGA Mike was saying it was unlawful. But I think after Donald Trump put up on the White House website all of those lies about January 6th.
Tom Hanks has done more for the positive portrayal of the American service member, more for the caring of the American veteran, their caregivers and their family, and more for the American space program and all branches of government than many other Americans. Think about Hanks' resume regarding military service and veterans. Starred in Saving Private Ryan, perhaps the most powerful World War II combat film ever made. Produced Band of Brothers 2001, The Pacific 2010, and Masters of the Air 2024. Starred in Greyhound, focusing on the Battle of the Atlantic.
Oh, well, thank you. Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No,
oh, no. Oh, no, it's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome at Black Devil anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it What Jeopardy?
No. We don't need it. We don't need it.
According to the Daily Beast, Donald Trump's inner circle is becoming increasingly fearful of the impact what he sees on Fox News is having on his decision-making. Trump officials became concerned when Trump asked if he could get a reverse mortgage on the White House in one of those Terry Bradshaw walk-in tubs.
It was too much for even MAGA Republican Senator John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader. And Tom Tillis, working with Democrats, really forced the hand of Thune, and the Senate finally has agreed that they will be putting up the J6 plaque on the Senate side. MAGA Mike in the House refused to put it up on the House side because Donald Trump does not want a plaque memorializing the police officers, the real courageous individuals, the real heroes on January 6th. And as Scott MacFarlane said, who's one of the people who have been breaking stories on the J6 plaque issue, now this plaque could hang in the third floor visitor area where the rioters were on January 6th. So you have the J6 plaque. You also have a War Powers resolution.
Served as national spokesperson for the World War II Memorial Campaign, was chair of the D-Day Museum Capital Campaign, inducted into the U.S. Army's Ranger Hall of Fame, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016, created Hanks for Our Troops coffee brand supporting veterans and families. The ceremony was scheduled for September 25th, 2025. Hanks was excited, stating, "To have my first ever visit to the Academy be to accept such an honor as the Thayer Award is simply astounding." Previous recipients included President Barack Obama in 2024. This wasn't some controversial choice.
You give a guy a fair shot for as much as you can, and I have great faith in in our system of government. But I believe that I have witnessed, from my perspective, is that there is fear and outrage and xenophobia has been commoditized. It's turned into the bigger trademark for how
which was passed in the United States Senate, right? So just to recap, in the House, you had 17 Republican House members joining forces with Democrats on a bipartisan basis to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies, but Donald Trump's going to work to block that and veto it. Then you have a War Powers resolution restricting Donald Trump's ability to have further military action in Venezuela. That was voted on a bipartisan basis as well in the United States Senate. A 52-47 vote to advance a War Powers resolution aimed at restricting Trump from taking further military action in Venezuela. You had Republican Senators Murkowski, Young, Paul, Collins, and Hawley all joining forces with the Democrats there. Tim Kaine was the person who pushed forward the bill. It was joined by other co-sponsors like Senator Schiff, and 52-47. Why don't we bring you to the House floor, or rather the Senate floor? I brought you to the House floor before. Here's the Senate floor when that bill passed as well, when that War Powers resolution passed the Senate, but Donald Trump threatening to veto that as well.
This was honoring one of Hollywood's most respected figures for his decades of supporting American service members. Then, on September 6, 2025, the West Point Association of Graduates abruptly canceled the ceremony. Trump's Truth Social meltdown. On September 8, 2025, Trump took to Truth Social with a vindictive celebration of the cancellation. His full post, "Our Great West Point, getting greater all the time," has smartly canceled the award ceremony for actor Tom Hanks. Important move. We don't need destructive woke recipients getting our cherished American awards.
Great parts of the world are dealing with problems that seem as though they have no solution and seem as though they will never go away. When America has faced those sorts of circumstances and times, we have never turned to a simplistic, self-involved gas bag of a candidate. They are out there. They have been there. I'm a lay.
The yeas are 52. The nays are 47. The motion is agreed to. The joint resolution will be placed on the calendar. On to the previous order,
And there were more areas as well where Republicans were revolting against Donald Trump. So again, just to recap, Affordable Care Act subsidies, War Powers Resolution, J6 plaque, as Burgess Everett writes. Also, when it comes to Donald Trump threatening to invade Greenland on a bipartisan basis, Democrats and Republicans in the United States Senate invited the ambassador from Denmark and the ambassador from Greenland to meet with the United States Senate so that the Senate could reassure the ambassadors that the Senate, on a bipartisan basis,
hopefully the Academy Awards and other fake award shows will review their standards and practices in the name of fairness and justice. Watch their dead ratings surge. Let's unpack the insanity of this statement. Trump called Tom Hanks, a man who has spent decades honoring American veterans, who created some of the most powerful depictions of American service members' sacrifice, who donated time and money to veterans' causes, destructive and woke. What exactly has Hanks destroyed?
Finally, do you worry about the United States in case in terms of its commitment to democracy and freedom and everything these people died for, if there's another Trump presidency?
I think there's always reason to be worried about the short term, but I look at the longer term of what happened. I think there is a ongoing look. Our Constitution says we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union,
has their back. And even Donald Trump recognizes that the MAGA Republicans are losing control in the House and the Senate. On state regime media last night during an interview with Hannity, Donald Trump concedes that he's likely to lose the midterms, and it's likely gonna get ugly for him and the MAGA Republicans. Let's play this clip.
And we've done great everywhere. It's amazing. It's an amazing phenomenon that on 2 or 3 occasions, I don't know, it depends on how far you want to go back, but if you go back a long way, the sitting president, whether it's Democrat or Republican, always loses the midterm, even if they've done well, almost always. And, you know, you'd think it would be like a 50-50 deal. Even if the president's done a great job, I think we've done a great job. We've done maybe the best job ever in the first year, but they always seem to lose the midterm. There's something down deep psychologically with the voters that they want maybe a check or something. I don't know what it is exactly, but
then you had Senator Tillis from North Carolina. And again, he's not running for re-election.
Which American institutions has he harmed? The answer, none. His only crime was criticizing Donald Trump. Trump then threatened other award shows, demanding they review their standards and practices. This wasn't just about West Point. Trump was sending a message to every institution: honor my critics and you'll face consequences. The official explanation: a gun to the head statement. Retired Army Colonel Mark Beeger, president and CEO of the West Point Association of Graduates, sent an email to faculty explaining the cancellation.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that self-involved gas bag. You want to talk about him?
Donald Trump.
Look, if I have an abscessed tooth and I need to see an oral surgeon, I'm not going to go to the guy who says, you know what, I think I could be a pretty good oral surgeon. I'm going to go someone who's been doing it for 30 years and has handled it a million times and knows all the small little. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton because I think she's wildly qualified to be the president of the United States. At the same time,
but then he went on CNN, and here's what he had to say about Donald Trump's threats against NATO and why it's so important to have NATO. It should be obvious, but here he's basically calling out Donald Trump for attacking our NATO allies. Play this clip.
It's very important for the NATO alliance to know that we have their back because they've had ours. We're the only country that has benefited from the Article 5 commitment in Afghanistan, where treasure and lives have been lost by our allies. We owe them respect, and we need to make it very clear that our strength and our ability to project power, to stand off against Putin, to stand off Russia, stand off China, Iran, it all rests on this exquisite capability that we have under NATO.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the Midas Touch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popak's new law firm. It's called the Popak Firm. Michael Popak's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Midas Mighty.
According to the Washington Post, the email stated the decision would allow West Point to continue its focus on its core mission of preparing cadets to lead, fight, and win as officers in the world's most lethal force, the United States Army. Read that statement carefully. It sounds like something written with a gun to your head. How does honoring Tom Hanks, a man who has done more for military recruitment and positive portrayals of service members than perhaps any living American, distract from West Point's core mission? It doesn't. The statement was transparent cover for political coercion.
The report is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who've asked me for pardons. I call them Puff Daddy.
Legal AFers who are approaching Michael Popak with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popak was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popak Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popak's firm is free. Give him a call, see if you have a case. It's thepopakfirm.com, thepopakfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popak a call.
Trump's meltdown, calling Hanks destructive, celebrating the cancellation, threatening other institutions, revealed his fundamental insecurity and vindictiveness. This is what authoritarianism looks like in real time. Not jackboots and midnight arrests. Just institutions quietly canceling awards, presidents celebrating on social media, and unspoken threats ensuring compliance. Tom Hanks will be fine. He has 3 Oscars, hundreds of millions of dollars, and the genuine love of millions of Americans. But American democracy? It suffers every time institutions cave to authoritarian pressure.
Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
He's so awesome, you know? It's F-A-F-O Schwarzkopf. That was some speech. Usually when a big group of people gather in a room for Pete Hegseth, it's an intervention. But this was a no-mercy type of affair. Hegseth said, we're getting rid of DEI in the military. We're getting rid of dudes in dresses. He said there will be no more beardos, which is what weird people call men with beards. And just as it said on Pete's Tinder profile, no fatties allowed.
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
Right. Trump was there.
And although not a Republican, he's an independent. Jesse Ventura, former governor of Minnesota, independent, I think Reform Party, Vietnam veteran, Navy SEAL. He was visiting a high school that engaged in peaceful protest against ICE. in the Minneapolis region, and he was showing support for the students there.
It weakens every time truth tellers face consequences for speaking out. It dies by 1,000 cuts like the West Point award cancellation. Subscribe to US Poly Network to track how Trump continues weaponizing government against critics, how beloved entertainers risk their platforms to speak truth, and how institutions either resist or cave to authoritarian pressure. The documented record matters. And Tom Hanks just added another chapter to Trump's legacy of petty vindictiveness and authoritarian overreach.